everybody, this is Sherry at djsundry.blogspot.com, and if my desk seems to be a disaster to you, you don't even know the half of it. You're seeing part of it that's a big mess, but you're not even seeing the biggest mess. But I've got to crack this tag out today before going to work, and so I just wanted to give you a quick tutorial on the process that I'm doing today. Today we're going to be doing embossing. Now there are different ways to do embossing. There's dry embossing, there's heat embossing. Today we're going to be doing heat embossing, and then throughout the 12 days on another day we'll be doing some dry embossing, and we'll be doing some different techniques with heat embossing as well later in the series. So today is the third day of Christmas, and I have chosen to do the back of my tag a little bit differently. Now I know that this is not centered here. It says, on the third day of Christmas, your true love gave to you 3 French hens. But what I did is I just took my piece of white that I had already printed, and I centered it as best as I could on the tag. And I know I have much larger of a border up here, but that's okay because we're going to fix that. And then I just cut around it after I adhered it to my tag. I held it up to the light. And then I distressed around it with close to my heart, old olive, or just olive color, just this little one. Now I know that there's some smudges here, and that's okay. It's kind of a rustic looking tag, and you'll see more when we get to the front. On the front, I have this beautiful, almost textured paper that I got at Michael's, and it's a Die Cuts with a View paper, and it's called The First Noel. And as far as I know, Michael's is the only place I've found it anyway. I haven't found it at Joann's, and I've noticed that sometimes Joann's gets different Die Cuts with a View papers than what Michael's gets, and this seems to be a Michael's one this year. And I've already adhered it down, and if you see right here, I don't know how well you can see it on the camera because it's very subtle, very vintage looking, but I have stamped a joyful Christmas, and I've heat embossed it, and that's going to be the main part of the front of our tag. But I know that you can't see it that well, so I wanted to show the technique by doing it for you on the back. On this, it just looks like it's part of the paper, and it has this raised texture. I wish you could feel it. It just feels good under your finger. But I'm going to show you how to do it on the back. So there are different ways that you can heat emboss. You have to have a wet ink pad. Now I am using today a Versamark watermark stamp pad, and the reason I'm doing that is because it's clear, so it won't distort the color of the embossing powder that I put over the top. However, say you only have clear embossing powder, you could use your pigment color ink. I could use this old olive with clear embossing powder and achieve a similar effect. So there are different ways you can go about it, but pigment inks work great, and you could go clear over the top of colored, or you can use a clear ink pad and go with colored embossing powder. So either way you choose to do it is great. Now one thing that is good to have on hand, and I have 2 different tools for this. I'll show you the first tool, and then I'm going to show you what I'm using today. The first tool is this funny looking pillow that I picked up in California years ago, and it's kind of it's chalky, and if you rub it over the top, it helps decrease the static, because that embossing powder will stick to different things, and you don't want little dots of embossing powder all over. So this removes it static so that it won't stick as well. And I did see something similar to that at Michael's the other day. But what I'm using is this tool. You recognize this? This is actually a dryer sheet. It does the same thing. Now, because this ink that I used around the edge is pigment ink, it will hold the embossing powder. So I wanted to be sure it was really dry. You can do that one of 2 ways. You can either just let it sit for a long time and make sure it's dry, or you can hit it with your heat tool like I'm going to show you in a few minutes that I've used, which is what I did. I just used my heat tool to make sure that it was set. So I'm going to stamp my image right here, and this is from a recollection set that I've had for a while, a year or 2, and it is called Christmas Borders. And this is just kind of a loopy-loop border. And I know you can't see that right now, and that's okay. Now, because this Versamark pad and the pigment pads stay wet for a while. You don't have to, you have time to quickly clean off your stamp like I just did, but you don't want to wait forever. So I've got my image there, and I just have a piece of scratch paper. Now I also do this, some of my colors that I use more frequently, I keep in these little take-alongs so that I can just do it over there, then I don't have to clean up after myself. But I don't have storage space to do that for every color. So the colors that I don't use as frequently, I just do on scratch paper, and then I just pour it back in. Now you see I'm pretty generous there, and it looks like a mess. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to tap it off. And then I'm going to turn it over and tap. And everywhere where there's ink, that embossing powder sets. Now see over here I have some strays, and you can take a brush or something and pick up some of those strays if you want. There's not enough here that I'm going to worry about it today, but it just gives it that little loop-de-loop. And it doesn't look like much. It looks like grainy sand on there right now. Let me pour this back into my bottle, which I may be off camera for that, so pardon me. But if I don't get it out of the way, I will either dump it all over my craft space, or I will heat set it all into that piece of paper and end up with a big loss. And I'll tell you, these go a long way. I've had embossing powder that I've had for years. So now what I'm going to do is grab my embossing tool. This is my heat embosser. I got it for Christmas last year. It's a replacement for my original one. This is from American Crafts, and one thing I like about it is my old one looked more like a blow dryer, and a blow dryer really doesn't work because it doesn't get hot enough, and it blows too much, and it can throw the powder all over. You really need to have an embossing tool. And this one has a precision tip, and it gets pretty hot. Plus, what I really like about this one is it's much quieter than my last one. So you turn it on, and you pick this up, and you start going over the top. Now you want to keep moving, because if you don't, you'll burn in one place. And yes, I've browned paper before, and then you'll leave sparks behind that didn't get set because you've burnt it in one place. Now that didn't take very long because it's a pretty small little detail there, but now it's all smooth, and when you turn it, it has some sparkle in it. Now this is the exact same embossing powder that I used on the front, but this is a pearl embossing powder from Recollections, and it's almost holographic. When you move it, it kind of looks gold and then red and gold and red. So that's how I chose to do that. So now we are almost done with our tag. So we've got our back finished, just simple. This just added just that little extra touch, kind of made it more vintage, because to me white isn't vintage, and I could go in and distress it with some frayed burlap and kind of roughen it up a little bit, but I just wanted you to be able to see this technique. So I'm going to leave it this way, and then in the front we've got our tag. Now this was a 12 by 12 paper pad, and this came off of the same sheet, and I just fussy cut, and all fussy cut means is cut it out. So I just cut out my little ball. Now a piece of that ball, I was using a scrap piece of paper, and a piece of that ball was actually missing from whatever project I originally used it on. So what I'm doing here is when I fussy cut it, I left that straight edge, and I will actually just line it right up on the bottom so it looks like it was cut on purpose, even though you and I both know it wasn't. But the recipient will never know. Now I have this ribbon that I have from Celebrate It, and that's just the Michaels brand ribbon that I got, and it's so pretty. It came with 3 different colors. This ivory with gold, and then it had green with gold, and it had red with gold, all on the same spool. And I got it at a 70% off sale, so that made it even better for me. And so I'm just going to use glossy accents to adhere that. And then I've cut other pieces of that we're going to run through our hole. So let me just get those all together here. Fold them in half. Now this is a little bit tricky when you use more than one. It's much simpler when you use one, but because this is so narrow, maybe I'll just pull them through. Fold them. Because this ribbon is so narrow, I wanted to have the different colors. Plus I used every single one of these colors in the tag. Alright, so there we have our 3rd day of Christmas. 3 French hens. Now be sure and go check out the website that I link to every one of these videos that show the saying, so you can join in the fun if you would like. And there are even pre-printed tags, so if you don't have time this year to be crafty, all you have to do is run them through your colored printer, or you could even print them in black and white, cut them out, and they're already printed with the sayings, and you don't have to have a fancy tag. You know, the spirit is the spirit of giving, and giving someone a fun thing to look forward to every morning. So here's today's tag. Now, I wanted to give you an update on the giveaway that's going on over on my blog. I am encouraging people to link up their 12 tags, and if you link up your 12 tags at the end of the month after Christmas, I will go through, and one of those tags is going to win a prize package. Now, I originally said that I was giving the My Mind's Eye Noel, and what I thought I had purchased was was one that I already had, so that you could maybe even duplicate some of the projects. But when it came, it actually was a little bit different, and I decided not to use that one, and I have a different pad that I'm going to be giving away as part of that giveaway. I'm going to be giving away this My Mind's Eye Christmas Wish pad, and I am adding to the collection. There's more things that are going to be given away in there. And let me just give you a sneak peek of what's being given away. I've got some washi crafting tape here from Recollections. I have this cute little chipboard that you could make into a book. It's got holes you could use or not use, and you could make a little mini album out of that. I was able to find a set of the number 8 tags from Ranger, and so I have a set of those. There's 20 in that, so you can make a lot of tags in there. And that's just some of the things that I've started with. Now, there'll be a couple other little things in there, so please be sure and go to www.ggsundry.blogspot.com and link up your tags for a chance to win this and whatever else I put inside the prize package. So thanks for stopping by today, and remember to take some time to enjoy the little things. Have a great day.